Hello again, you sick, twisted weather freaks, and welcome to another fun-filled, action-packed, and intellectually stimulating edition of This Week in Weather. I'm your host and meteorologist DT from Weather Risk, your commander of chaos, your colonel of confusion, your captain of catastrophe. Let's talk this week in weather. We'll start out with taking a look at the update on El Nino for this May 3rd, 4th. We'll talk about the shifting of the Omega block. The Midwest is going to turn wet, and the second half of May in the eastern U.S. is going to turn a lot warmer. So let's get right to it. So here's the latest update from last week on the ENSO regions. And as you probably know, this is the diagram, the map there shows you the different regions. The one that's really important is ENSO 3.4 right here. That's the one that we use to decide whether conditions are in El Nino or La Nina or neutral conditions. And as you can see, region 1.2, the Australians, and then the Climate Prediction Center right here off the coast of Peru has it at 2.5 degrees warmer. But then region number 3 is also beginning to warm significantly. And one of the things that's also important to note here is subsurface temperature reading. So this over here is this is off the coast of Peru, right? And then over here is near the Philippines. And you can see that about 150 meters down, there's the really warm water, and it's coming up this way in towards off the coast of Peru. Now that's 4 degrees centigrade, but actually that orange area is almost 5 degrees centigrade above normal, only 50 meters down. So there's a lot of warm water developing right in here. And very typically, when you get a strong El Nino, it develops off the coast of South America and spreads westward along the equator towards the date line. Here's a sea surface temperature map as of this is April 26th. It says the 12th on it. Let me change that for so you know what we're doing there, 26th. And you can see the 3 different areas here. Here's our negative PDO. There's the cold water and the warm water, so that's the negative PDO. There's the El Nino. Look at this thing exploding off the coast of South America. And then here's the really warm water in the eastern Atlantic Ocean, which is impacting Spain and Europe right now. Now the Atlantic is really, really warm, and that has a lot of people thinking that it might be a counteracting influence to El Nino. That might be the case. We don't know that yet. But one of the things that does act as a counter to El Nino is a negative PDO. And the reason for that is pretty clear here. So this is your positive PDO, and you get really wet conditions here in the plains, the delta along the east coast. But when you have a negative PDO like we have now, then you can see the really big dryness here in the plains and down to Texas, and dryness along the southeast coast from Virginia down to Georgia, which is what we've been seeing, and above normal rainfall for the past several months from New York, western New York, Pennsylvania into the Ohio Valley down to Tennessee. So if this were to hold, the argument is that this would counteract the El Nino, and it might end up with a near normal hurricane season in the Atlantic Basin. The problem is that if you look at the latest data, you'll see that the negative PDO, this negative PDO right here in A, is breaking down. Let me show you. These are the 7-day temperatures here. And again, this is the tropical tidbits, but you can see last 7 days. Look at the warm water developing here. See, this is changed. And one of the reasons this is going on is because the pattern in North America is changing now that La Nina is dead. So the warm water is really building up here, and that's beginning to weaken that negative PDO. So I don't think the negative PDO is going to last until July. I could be wrong. We'll see, but I don't think it's going to. The latest information here is the CFS model from last Friday. You can see it is warmer. The blue line is 1 degree centigrade above normal. By July, we're 1 degree centigrade above normal for the most part, even a little above it. And by the time we get to September and October, we're 2 degrees centigrade above normal, which is a strong El Nino, or also known as a super El Nino. And that continues right into November and December. So we'll get to the winter and what that means later on at some forecast in the future. We're not going to deal with that now. The point is that this El Nino is coming. There's no doubt about it. Here is the Australian model. Look at this. You look at the green lines here. There's August, September. You have around 2 degrees. By June, we're at 1.2 degrees centigrade. By August, we're at 2.3, 2.4 degrees centigrade. And by October, we're almost 2.8 degrees centigrade above normal. So the Australians are really exploding the El Nino as we go into the heart of the summer. The drought conditions here, well, this is the short-term drought index from April 24. Obviously, we have the big drought here in the plains. And again, this matches negative PDO. As you can see, the negative PDO, big dryness here and right along here. And again, you can see we did have a lot of dryness here in the Northeast, but especially in Virginia into southern Pennsylvania before the rains hit. And the rains were pretty impressive. This is the recent pattern, the recent conditions. You can see that this is as of May 1st. We have this huge omega block right here, an upper low in the northwest Atlantic, another one in the Great Lakes, a gigantic trough in the eastern U.S. So this looks like the letter omega. That's what that looks like. You see it? Okay, and there's your ridge on the Rockies. So as a result, you're getting a lot of flow of cold air over Canada. Everything is running well below normal for the last 5 days east of the Mississippi River in terms of temperature anomalies. In terms of the rainfall for the past 7 days, this is just focused here on the Virginia, Maryland, Delaware area. The brown color, in case you don't know, is around 6-inch rain. So like in southern New Jersey, 5-6 inches, portions of the Delmarva. Most of Virginia, North Carolina, anywhere from 2 to 4-inch rains, it looks like. Now, far southwest Virginia towards Kentucky did not get nearly that much. So, and there was a strange hole just to the west of out by Hot Springs, maybe to the east of Hot Springs, where they didn't get much rain there at all. I'm not sure if that's a mistake in the data field or if it actually was that dry for some reason. Probably a mistake in the data field, I suspect. Here's New England. You can see also significant rains in the past 7 days. A lot of places, central and southern coastal New Jersey, up to 6 inches of rain. So did southern Maine. But a lot of places, New York State, southern New England, 1 to 4-inch rains, 1 to 3-inch rains. And then here, this is the Ohio Valley. So it's had some in West Virginia, you can see, in Ohio. But most of the Tennessee, Kentucky area didn't see a lot of rain. And the southeastern states, where the storm started back on Thursday and Friday. Again, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, a lot of 1 to 4-inch rains, a little higher in northwest. The hills of South Carolina, Greensville, Spartanburg got slammed, but most of the rain there was not quite that heavy. All right, here's the current conditions this afternoon weather map. You probably have already seen this if you haven't looked. There's our low. This low now off in Pennsylvania, New Jersey coast. That was the system in the Great Lakes, the upper low. So as I move to the coast, you can see the numerous rain here. I posted this on the Facebook page in more high resolution. A lot of rain here over the Northeast, and a very cold day, readings staying in the 40s all day in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, most of New Jersey, New York, New England. Very much like March as opposed to, or April as opposed to early May. Now the MJO is doing some interesting stuff here. The MJO did something unexpected. Earlier it was supposed to go into the neutral circle. See this thing in here? And it didn't do that. Instead it turned right across phase 2 and 3. It's supposed to go into phase neutral circle after reaching phase 1. It did not do that. So now you can see, start the red dot here. This is the GFS. Here's the European right here. And there is the Australian model right here. So you all started on the edge of 3 and 4. And what happens is, okay, the red lines, the next 5 days, takes you to phase 4 and 5. And then the blue line is phase 6, which is right in here, here, and here. And then in phase 7, we go, and then the 11 to 15 day, you can see it goes into phase 7. Some of it even ends up clicking phase 8 a little bit. I'm not certain about that yet, but definitely phase 7. All right, what does that mean? Well, you can see what it means here. That in the phase 6 here, it's really wet in the plains in the upper Midwest, but look how dry it is east of the Mississippi River. It's also quite warm. So that does indicate that by the middle of May, it's going to really warm up here in the Midwest and the Mid-Atlantic and the southern states. Not so much New England. And then phase 7, it's pretty wet everybody east of the Mississippi River, and the temperatures are about seasonal. So that's what we expect to happen over the next 2 weeks. If we look at our jet stream map here, this is coming up here, what's going to happen here. This is a Thursday. Tomorrow morning, you can see there's the omega block, and you can see the huge upper low of California. And the other one, which was over the Great Lakes, is now moving off the mid-Atlantic coast, but this is a classic omega block pattern here. And this continues by Sunday. There's the block. It hasn't changed much. Now, this upper low is going to move into southeast Canada, and that's going to allow the trough to weaken and more warm air getting into the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the southeastern states, and eventually New England. Once this one gets out of the way, we'll have a trough on the west coast and a ridge in the east, and that's a warmer pattern. So that is the good news eventually. But all this energy coming in from California is going to start making the pattern pretty wet. Let me show you. Here's the next 5 days. You can see this is on Thursday night, Friday, getting some showers and storms and low pressure developing in the central plains. A piece of that moves into Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina this weekend. Some more showers up here in Minnesota. But notice the high pressure here north of the Great Lakes is keeping the Mid-Atlantic and New England and the Great Lakes either normal or below normal, mostly below normal. Not cold enough for a frost, but definitely below normal. And then here, this is now Sunday and Monday. The front is right along here. There's a bit of a rain cluster here, maybe some heavy storms in Iowa and southern Minnesota. But look at the temperatures over the next 5 days. Oh, really, really cold. 5 to 10 degrees below normal Fahrenheit for the next five days here. Now, rainfall in the next 5 days. Here's the GFS. Notice New England, the Mid-Atlantic is all dry, Ohio Valley. You've got this boundary right here where the showers begin to develop, and that's so you can see in the European the same sort of thing right here. So this is the cold air coming out of Canada, but you can see already the stuff is beginning to pop in the Midwest and right along the boundary here. So this takes us into Monday, as you can see on these maps, takes us into Monday, right? So that means a pretty good weekend for everybody here coming up. New England, Mid-Atlantic. Remember, this is over the next 5 days. Virginia, Ohio Valley, most of North Carolina looks pretty good as well. Now, in the 6 to 10 day, okay, well, remember we talked about the upper low. It's now moving off the east coast and now up in southeast Canada. So the trough here is weakening, and you're getting more ridging. You see the ridging beginning to develop here? This trough comes to California, so that trough creates a ridge in the southern states, and with this upper low going away, the ridge can expand and we get warmer. The cold air gets shut off, so by the time we get to May 12th, the trough is now up in southeast Canada by Greenland. We only have a ridge here. See the energy on the west coast, California, and we have a nice ridge right here. And as a result, the block is now being changing. We're not getting a flow of cold air into the Mid-Atlantic or the Great Lakes or New England. It's just mostly southeast Canada. So it is a warmer pattern. But all this energy coming in from the west coast is going underneath the block, and it's going to produce some significant rains for portions of the plains and Midwest, and eventually back into the Mid-Atlantic and New England, but not until after day 10, I think. Okay, here is from 6 to 10, May 9th and 10th. Here's the GFS. Notice it takes the low up to Minnesota. There's a front here, cool Canadian high to the north. The European has this system further south over Kansas and Nebraska, but the high is still to the north, and their front is here. So a little difference in the timing location, but this is the same general idea for May 10th and 11th. But it's pretty dry in the Great Lakes, New England, Mid-Atlantic, right through to early next week. Now, eventually, that system goes up to the Great Lakes, and you get a cold front which pushes through here May 12th or 13th. All right, and this is the beginning of the rain. The highs off the coast here, so we're getting south winds, so temperatures really warm up now in the Ohio Valley, the southeastern states, the Mid-Atlantic, and New England, May 12th and 13th, ahead of the front. But eventually, all this energy coming in from the west coast is going to get into the Mid-Atlantic. Let me show you. Here's the rainfall in the 6 to 10 day. Now, this is the GFS. Look how much rain it has in the Ohio Valley. Widespread 1.5, maybe to 5, 6 inch rains here. Really nice. Not so much the southeastern states. Now, the European is slower and drier. It has the big rains, but notice it's further back to the west of the Mississippi. So really, this is a matter of timing. Fast solution, slow solution. The fastest solution, the slow solution. But, I'm kind of favoring the European right now, but I could be wrong on that. So maybe the rain may come in faster. We'll see. 6 to 10 day. The GFS could be right here. Especially if this trough gets out of the way faster on the East Coast, here on May 12th, you're going to get a lot more rain spreading in faster. And the temperatures getting back to normal. Everybody, the cold air is pretty much gone. Now, most of these below normal temperatures in New England and Pennsylvania, that's early in the 6 to 10 day. Day 8, 9, and 10 look a lot warmer. All right. And the 11 to 15 day, well, okay, the omega block continues to break down. So what's happening is, notice the ridge is going back to the west. We have a trough in Baffin Island in Quebec, Canada, upper low here. So now we'll have a ridge pretty much over the Rockies on the west coast, right? So that's setting up your flow of cold air. Nothing extreme, but seasonal cold coming out of Canada, going into the Midwest, the Great Lakes, New England, maybe the Mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, sending cold fronts southward. Then you have this energy coming in right here and here in both these models on the southern jet stream. So the energy meets the cold fronts and you get pretty wet pattern. Now, this is 11 to 15 day rainfall here. I think this is underdone. I think it's going to be wetter than this, but it shows some rain 11 to 15 day. But the potential exists. I don't give this a lot of credence. Look at the upper air map, and you can see that there are going to be some rain chances east of the Mississippi River in the eastern U.S. in 11 to 15 day, which is May 13th to 17th, May 14th to 18th. So I don't think we're headed for another dry pattern. I don't see that happening. It is going to be dry, like I said, for the next week or so in this kind of pattern. We are going to be dry in New England, the Mid-Atlantic, the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, for the next week or so. But week 2 does look wetter. There's no doubt about that from what I can see. This is meteorologist DT from Weather Risk. I will catch you over on the Twitter page, over on the website, and over on the Facebook page.